Most people don't realize this. Every time money enters your hands, you're either building your freedom or burying it. The rich, the 1%, they're not smarter, they're not luckier. They're simply more disciplined with the moments everyone else ignores. The moment you get paid is the moment your future is written. Some write wealth. Most write regret. And the difference between the two is a habit. A habit so small, so simple, that almost everyone overlooks it. But the 1% repeat it every single time. Every payday is a test, not of how much you earn, but of who you become. The rich don't worship money, they respect it. They treat every dollar like a soldier, something that can work, grow, and eventually fight for their freedom. The poor treat money like a visitor, here today, gone today. Listen carefully. Success is not built on the days you feel motivated. Success is built through discipline, through faith, through the decision to control your habits, even when your emotions scream otherwise. The 1% live by a mission. Make money, serve you, not control you. Build assets, not excuses. Plant seeds today that pay you for the rest of your life. And you, yes, you listening right now, you must decide. Will you keep repeating the patterns that keep you trapped? Or will you rise into the version of yourself that your future family will thank you for? Because every time the rich get paid, they don't ask, "What can I buy?" They ask, "How can I grow?" Every paycheck is a chance to build wealth. Every paycheck is a moment of truth. Every paycheck is a crossroads between temporary pleasure and long-term power. Faith, discipline, courage. That's the formula. And if you're ready to step into a life of purpose, if you're ready to break the cycle, if you're ready to learn the habits no one taught you, then don't just listen. Commit, apply, transform. And before we continue, if you're on a journey of success, discipline, and building the life you deserve, hit that subscribe button. Join the family. Join the mission. Because this channel is here to help you rise financially, mentally, spiritually. Now, let's break down the habits that separate the 99% from the 1%. Paying yourself first is the discipline that separates those who struggle financially from those who rise. It is the moment you choose your future before choosing your comfort, the moment you decide that building wealth matters more than feeding impulse. Every time the rich get paid, they take a portion, whether it's 5%, 10%, or 30%, and move it out of reach. Not for spending, not for bills, not for lifestyle, but for growth. They treat that money as sacred because it represents the seed of their future freedom. Most people do the opposite. They pay everyone else first, the landlord, the stores, the subscriptions, and they wait to see if anything is left over. But nothing is ever left over because money expands or contracts based on the habits that control it. The 1% understand that if you don't take your cut at the beginning, the world will take it for you. Paying yourself first is not about the amount. It's about the identity. It's telling yourself that you are worth investing in, that your future deserves priority, that your goals matter more than short-term pleasure. When you pay yourself first, you build a cushion, a reserve, a foundation that grows silently in the background. Even small amounts compound into something powerful because consistency is stronger than intensity. It also rewires your mindset. Instead of thinking, "How much can I spend?" you begin thinking, "How much can I grow?" Instead of reacting to money, you begin controlling it. This habit forces discipline, creates confidence, and builds momentum because every deposit is a promise kept to yourself. And every promise kept strengthens identity, and identity shapes destiny. Paying yourself first is the moment you stop living paycheck to paycheck and start living purpose to purpose, where wealth becomes a byproduct of who you are becoming rather than what you earn. The rich understand a simple truth that most people never recognize. The moment money enters their hands, it has only two possible paths. It can become something that drains them or something that builds them, and the 1% choose the second path every single time they get paid. They turn income into assets that quietly grow in the background, while everyone else spends their money on things that fade, break, or lose value the moment they are purchased. They see each dollar as a worker, a seed, a tool that can multiply if placed in the right environment. So instead of chasing the rush of buying something new, they chase the reward of watching their money grow. They buy stocks, businesses, property, digital assets, skill sets, anything that increases in value or produces cash flow, because they know that wealth is never built from earning alone. Wealth is built when what you earn begins to earn on its own. The rich play a different game. They use money to buy freedom, not feelings, and every asset they acquire becomes another pillar, supporting their future, another stream feeding their long-term stability. They understand that liabilities take money out of your pocket, but assets put money into your pocket without asking, without complaining, without stopping. And that is why the rich grow richer, whether they work or sleep. Turning income into assets also changes how they think. It forces them to evaluate every financial decision based on return, value, and long-term benefit. It teaches patience. It trains discipline. It creates a mindset where money becomes a tool rather than a trap. And once you shift into this way of thinking, spending becomes strategic, investing becomes instinctive, and building becomes automatic. The rich don't wait until they have extra money to invest. They invest first so that one day they never have to worry about money again. They choose the path of ownership over consumption, growth over gratification, and legacy over lifestyle. And that is what transforms ordinary income into extraordinary wealth. Most people think tracking money is only for those who are struggling. But the truth is, the ones who track their money are the ones who eventually escape, struggle forever. Because you cannot control what you do not understand, and you cannot build what you do not measure. The rich know exactly where every dollar goes. They know what comes in, what goes out, what grows, what drains, and what needs to be adjusted long before a problem shows up. They refuse to live in financial blindness. They refuse to guess. They refuse to hope things work out, because hope is not a strategy. Clarity is, and that clarity begins with awareness. The 1% treat their finances like a business, not an accident. They study their spending patterns. They analyze unnecessary costs. They identify leaks before leaks become disasters. And this level of attention gives them power, because when you know your numbers, you can change your numbers. But when you ignore them, they control you. And most people live their entire lives controlled by the very money they never take time to understand. Tracking money is not about restriction. It is about intention. It is looking at your habits and asking yourself whether your spending matches your goals, whether your behavior matches your dreams, whether your lifestyle matches your future. And when it doesn't, the rich adjust with discipline instead of excuses. This habit builds confidence, because nothing gives you peace like knowing exactly where you stand. No guessing, no fear, no surprises, just truth, and truth is the foundation of transformation. Every dollar has a job, and the rich make sure it performs that job. They don't allow random spending, emotional spending, or unconscious spending to steal their progress. And the simple act of tracking becomes a daily reminder of direction, purpose, and control. The moment you begin to track every dollar is the moment you stop being a passenger in your financial life and start becoming the driver, the creator, and eventually the master of your money instead of a victim to it. Automation is the secret weapon of the rich, because they understand that discipline cannot depend on mood, motivation, or memory. The 1% design their financial life in a way where good decisions happen automatically and bad decisions don't even get the chance to exist. They know that human willpower is inconsistent, but systems are consistent every single time. So instead of relying on daily self-control, they build structures that protect their future, even on days when they feel tired, stressed, or tempted. They automate their investments. They automate their savings. They automate their contributions. They automate their bills, removing the emotional friction that causes most people to delay, forget, or abandon their goals. This habit is powerful because it eliminates the biggest threat to wealth building, which is hesitation. Every time someone hesitates, they lose momentum, they lose time, and they lose opportunities. But automation never hesitates. It moves whether you are ready or not. It grows your wealth whether you feel like it or not. And over months and years, those silent, automated actions become the foundation of financial freedom. The rich understand that the brain loves the path of least resistance, so they make the path to wealth effortless and the path to waste difficult. They take themselves out of the equation, which means no impulse spending. No, I'll invest later. No, maybe next month. Everything is decided once and executed forever. And this gives them peace, predictability, and power, because they know that their money is working quietly in the background while they focus on building skills, opportunities, and income. Automation also shifts identity. When your bank automatically moves money into investments every month, you begin to see yourself as an investor, a builder, a person who prioritizes long-term growth, and identity drives behavior. Once the system is in place, wealth becomes the default and not the exception. And that is why the 1% win, not because they are more motivated, but because they build systems that guarantee progress even in the absence of motivation. Avoiding consumer debt is one of the clearest lines drawn between the rich and everyone else, because the 1% understands something most people never stop to consider. Every time you borrow money for something that doesn't grow in value, you are trading future freedom for temporary pleasure. You are giving away years of your life for moments that disappear as quickly as they came, and the rich refuse to pay that price. They refuse to let interest become their master. They refuse to sacrifice long-term power for short-term comfort. This is why they live by a rule that seems simple but is life-changing. If they cannot pay for something twice, they will not buy it once, because paying for something twice means they can afford it without stress, without borrowing, without digging a hole that takes years to climb out of. The rich view debt as a tool, not a lifestyle. They only use it when it multiplies money, not when it drains it. They use debt to buy assets that pay them, not liabilities that weaken them. And this mindset creates a completely different financial trajectory. Most people buy things to look rich, while the rich buy things that make them rich. And the biggest trap for the average person is consumer debt, credit cards, installment plans, emotional purchases, lifestyle inflation, buying to impress, buying to cope, buying because they feel they deserve it. But every purchase made with debt is a chain, a quiet shackle that locks them into working tomorrow for something they enjoyed yesterday. The rich avoid this cycle because they value freedom more than appearance. They value growth more than gratification. They value discipline over impulse. And they know that the interest you pay on consumer debt is the tax on impatience. It is the financial punishment for not being able to wait. Avoiding consumer debt also builds a stronger identity. It turns money into a tool instead of a temptation. When you refuse to finance every desire, you learn to live below your means. You learn to plan. You learn to pause before making decisions that could cost you years of financial peace. And that pause becomes power. It makes you intentional. It makes you strategic. It makes you immune to advertising and social pressure. It teaches you that real wealth is the ability to live without owing anyone, the ability to sleep at night without financial weight pressing on your chest, the ability to use your income to build your future instead of repairing your past. This is why avoiding consumer debt is a habit of the rich, because they know every dollar saved from interest is a dollar that can be invested, grown, multiplied, and eventually transformed into freedom. The rich know that skills are the engine of wealth because money can be taken, markets can change, opportunities can disappear, but a sharpened mind and refined ability can create income anywhere, in any economy. Under any circumstance, the 1% understand that skills are assets, and unlike cars or clothes or gadgets, skills never depreciate. They only expand, strengthen, and multiply. This is why they invest in learning, long before they invest in luxury. They study, they practice, they improve, they push themselves into discomfort, because they know discomfort creates capability, and capability creates cash flow. The average person spends money to feel good, but the rich spend money to become good. Good at communicating, good at solving problems, good at selling, good at thinking, good at leading, good at creating value. They know that when you improve yourself, you improve your earning power, and that earning power is more valuable than any stock or property, because it is the source that funds everything else. While most people chase quick returns, the rich chase personal evolution. They understand that high income is not an accident. It is the natural result of high skill. They also know that the marketplace does not reward effort. It rewards value. And value comes from the skills you carry, not the time you spend. Every skill you build becomes a lifelong asset that compounds silently. Each new ability stacks on top of the last, increasing confidence, opportunity, and financial potential. Skills give you options. Options give you leverage. And leverage gives you freedom. This is why the rich read constantly, learn constantly, challenge themselves constantly, because they treat their mind like a bank account. Every lesson is a deposit. Every experience is interest. Every new skill is a new stream of potential income. They invest in mentors, courses, books, environments that elevate their thinking, because they understand that you cannot outperform the limits of your own knowledge. If you want a bigger life, you must build a bigger mind. Investing in skills also rewires identity. It transforms you from someone waiting for opportunity into someone capable of creating opportunity. It shifts you from dependence to independence, from insecurity to confidence, from scarcity to abundance. Once you understand that skills create wealth, you stop relying on luck. You stop feeling trapped. You stop thinking small. You begin to realize that you are your greatest investment. And the moment you take that seriously, your income, your opportunities, and your life begin to rise with you. The rich understand that your environment is not just where you live, it is who you become. Every conversation you engage in, every belief you absorb, every mindset you witness, shapes you in ways you don't even realize. The 1% protect their environment with intention because they know their future depends on the influences they allow into their life. They surround themselves with people who challenge them to grow. Instead of people who pull them back into comfort, they seek out conversations that expand their thinking instead of conversations that shrink their ambition. They refuse to stay in circles where dreams are mocked, goals are questioned, and discipline is seen as strange. The rich choose to be around people who talk about building, creating, investing, learning, improving, not complaining, gossiping, or blaming, because they know that energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious, habits are contagious, and the wrong environment can quietly kill ambition without you even noticing. The average person underestimates how much their environment shapes their behavior. They stay around people who normalize overspending, who normalize laziness, who normalize excuses, who normalize mediocrity. And over time, they start to see these habits as acceptable, expected, even reasonable. But the rich break away from these circles because they understand that their surroundings must reflect their future, not their past. They intentionally seek mentors, teachers, high achievers, big thinkers, people who operate at a level they aspire to reach. Because being around greatness forces you to elevate, it forces you to stretch. It forces you to confront your limitations and outgrow them. When you surround yourself with driven individuals, your standards rise without effort. You naturally start thinking bigger, planning smarter, acting bolder, and aiming higher because the environment makes it normal, expected, and achievable. The rich also know that environment is not just people, it's information. It's what you listen to, what you consume, what you watch, what you read, and what you allow into your mind during quiet moments. They feed themselves content that strengthens their identity as builders, creators, leaders, investors. They avoid negative news, toxic content, and anything that creates fear, doubt, or stagnation, because they understand that protecting the mind is as important as protecting money. They curate their environment with extreme discipline, because they know one wrong influence can lead to one wrong decision, and one wrong decision can cost years of progress. Surrounding themselves with growth means surrounding themselves with accountability, encouragement, challenge, and possibility. It means choosing friends who remind them of their goals instead of their distractions. It means choosing conversations that push them forward instead of pulling them down. It means choosing environments where success is not only accepted, but expected. And this expectation becomes the fuel that keeps them consistent, even when motivation fades. The rich understand that environment shapes identity, and identity shapes destiny. And that is why they choose their surroundings with the same precision, discipline, and intention that they use to choose their investments. Because they know that who you spend time with determines who you become, and who you become determines the wealth, opportunities, and life you ultimately create. The rich understand a truth that almost everyone else ignores. The game of wealth is not won in days or weeks. It is won over years, decades, and lifetimes. And the 1% are committed to a long-term vision that most people are simply too impatient to hold. They know that real wealth demands endurance, consistency, and the ability to delay gratification long enough for their efforts to create results that are bigger than anything they could have imagined in the beginning. The average person looks for quick wins, fast money, overnight success, and shortcuts that promise everything while requiring nothing. But the rich know that anything gained fast is lost faster, while anything built slowly becomes unshakable. They understand that the slow path is not actually slow. It is simply steady, and steady beats impulsive every single time. This is why they approach every financial decision with a long horizon in mind. They don't ask how something will benefit them today. They ask how it will benefit them 10 years from now. They don't invest for excitement. They invest for expansion. They don't chase opportunities that look shiny. They choose opportunities that have strong foundations, even if the rewards come later than they wish, because later is guaranteed to be greater when you are patient, disciplined, and consistent. The rich think in seasons, not seconds. They know that building wealth is like planting a forest. You don't plant a seed today and expect shade tomorrow. You plant it because you know the shade is inevitable if you keep watering, if you keep nurturing, if you keep believing even when nothing seems to be happening. This is the mindset that separates those who rise and those who stay stuck. The 1% treat time as a multiplier, not an enemy. They understand compounding not just as a financial principle, but as a life principle. They know that small actions, repeated consistently, create exponential results. They know that patience is not passive. It is powerful. It is a strategy. It is the only way to unlock results that shortcuts could never deliver. Most people quit too early, change direction too often, destroy their progress with impatience, and restart the same cycle every year while getting nowhere. But the rich hold their ground. They stay committed. They keep building even when progress is invisible, because they trust the process more than they trust their emotions. They understand that their goals are not supposed to be fulfilled quickly. They are supposed to be fulfilled faithfully. And this faith makes them immune to the distractions that destroy most people's dreams. They don't compare their timeline to others. They don't panic when progress is slow. They don't abandon the plan because of temporary setbacks. They know that every great reward requires a great wait, and they accept this without complaining because they are more focused on the destination than the discomfort they experience along the journey. The rich also play the long game with their habits. They know that the small decisions they make daily, the ones that seem insignificant, are shaping their future quietly. They know that consistency is more important than intensity, that showing up is more valuable than showing off, and that building slowly is still building. They embrace boring routines because they know discipline built over time becomes destiny. They don't chase motivation because they know motivation fades. But systems stay, habits stay, identity stays, and identity is what determines how far they go. Thinking long-term allows the rich to navigate life with calmness, while others panic. It allows them to seize opportunities others overlook. It allows them to stay level-headed in storms and strategic in chaos, because they are not thinking about today. They are thinking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the life they want to build, the legacy they want to leave, and the person they must become. And this ability to see far, plan far, and act far is why the rich keep growing while others keep restarting their lives every few months. The long game is not just a strategy for the rich, it is their identity, their advantage, and the foundation of the wealth they build that lasts long after they are gone. So now you know what the 1% do differently. The habits, the discipline, the mindset, the patience, the environment, and the commitment to playing the long game. But knowledge alone will never transform your life. Action will. The choice is yours every time you get paid, every time you make a decision, every time you face temptation to spend, procrastinate, or settle. You can follow the path that keeps you trapped, or you can follow the path that builds freedom. The habits of the rich are not secrets. They are simple truths, repeated consistently. And if you are willing to embrace them, apply them, and make them part of your identity, then your future will reflect the power of the choices you make today. Start small, start now, and let every action, every dollar, every thought, and every decision become a step toward the life, the freedom, and the wealth you deserve. Because the moment you begin to live like the 1%, your life stops being a series of coincidences and starts being a reflection of deliberate, unstoppable, intentional growth.